She was slicing into a red velvet cake when she said it. Not shouting, not crying, just casually, like it was part of the recipe. I'm meeting someone else tonight. The blade hit the porcelain plate with a quiet clink, as if the cake itself was offended. I blinked. The smell of cream cheese frosting mixed with the sharp scent of betrayal. I was holding a gift bag with her coworker's name on it. Daniel. I had just finished tying the ribbon. What? I asked, stupidly, like I hadn't heard her. But I had. Every word. Burned into my brain like graffiti I didn't ask for. She licked a smear of frosting off her finger. I didn't think you'd come to the party anyway. You hate my office stuff. True. I did. I hated her friends too. The way they called me the safe one, like it was some kind of insult. I hated how they laughed at her jokes that were always a little too sharp, a little too aimed at me. But I still showed up every year. And I had planned it tonight, because I knew something. Something she didn't know I knew. I watched her pack a spare pair of heels into her tote bag. Her phone buzzed. She didn't bother to hide the name. Micah. The same name that popped up at 1:23 a.m. last weekend when she said she was asleep. You're not even sorry, I muttered. She looked at me with a kind of half-pity, half-exhaustion expression, the one people reserve for wet dogs or sad clowns. Benny, don't make this hard. I'm just tired of pretending. And you already knew. Come on. She wasn't wrong. I did know. But what she didn't know is that the cake she just cut into, it wasn't from the bakery she thinks. And tonight, she won't be the only one showing up at that party, because I already mailed the envelope. The envelope wasn't thick, just a regular manila folder, one of those office types with the bendable metal clips inside. No name on the front, no return address, just an anonymous delivery dropped at the front desk of her company, sealed and time-stamped. I made sure of it. I even paid extra for same-day delivery. Inside were 3 things. A screenshot from her phone showing her Google Maps history, including her late-night detour to a hotel 42 minutes from her book club. A printed copy of her chat with Micah, graphic enough to make the receptionist uncomfortable. And a photo, one I took myself, from across the parking lot. She had no idea I'd followed her that night. I'd borrowed my brother's car just to be unrecognizable. Sat there for 3 hours with cold fries in my lap, watching her laugh on a sidewalk with someone who looked like a low-budget tattoo model. The worst part? She smiled wider in that 3-second moment than she had in the last 6 months with me. But I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to cry. I'd done enough of that already. I was tired of being the wounded puppy who stayed by the door, waiting for crumbs of affection. So I took a different route. Revenge wasn't my style, not the screaming type anyway, but exposure? That had its own poetry. I had marked the envelope with the label for internal eyes only, knowing full well that was the fastest way to make sure everyone saw it. Office gossip spreads like wildfire, especially when it includes the VP's birthday party and someone's boyfriend who wasn't supposed to be there. At 6:42 p.m., the receptionist signed for the package. At 6:55 p.m., she posted a photo on Instagram. Cake slice in hand, fake smile, captioned, "Work family vibes 2 hearts." At 7:12 p.m., I saw the post get deleted. By 7:20, my phone buzzed. It was her. Just one message. "What the F asterisk did you do?" I didn't respond. Not yet. I wanted her to sweat. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't the one begging. I was the one who knew. And I was only getting started. I waited until just after 8. I knew by then the cake would have already been cut, the drinks would be flowing, and the phones would have started buzzing, mine included. That's when people talk the most. When they loosen their ties, tilt their heads back to laugh just a little too loud, and start asking things like, "Did you hear about what just happened?" Perfect timing. I pulled into the parking lot in the same hoodie she said made me look like a college dropout. That was the point. I didn't want to blend in. I wanted to be seen. Not in some loud, scene-making way. I just wanted her to see me, not as the man she pitied, but as the one who finally got ahead of her game. I walked straight through the front doors of the rooftop venue like I was delivering something important. No one questioned me. That's the beautiful thing about confidence. It doesn't need an invitation. The elevator was packed. People were tipsy, joking, making TikToks in their work clothes. I stood in the back, hands in my pockets, heart racing like a fire alarm in my chest. When the elevator dinged and the doors opened, I was hit with lights, music, and the sound of 1,000 conversations I wasn't part of. Balloons were taped to a glass wall. Someone had set up a photo booth with props. There were cupcakes with her boss's face on them. But I didn't care about any of that. Because there she was. In a black dress I'd never seen before. Hair curled, heels too high for comfort. Laughing with a group near the bar. Her arm was looped around someone, Micah. Of course it was him. He had the posture of someone who believed he could never be humiliated. He hadn't seen the envelope yet. That was clear. Neither had she. I walked slowly along the edge of the crowd, weaving through small talk and shallow conversations. I didn't want to confront her, not yet. I wanted to observe. I wanted to see her before the panic set in, before the whispers started. And they did, one by one. I saw it happen in real time. Phones pulled from pockets, glances stolen mid-sentence, people holding in gasps as their eyes darted to her. I watched her smile falter, just a little. Then a coworker leaned in to whisper something in her ear. Her face changed immediately. Not confused, angry, furious. She looked around like she already knew who was behind it. Her eyes scanned the crowd. And then she saw me, standing near the dessert table. Calm, quiet, not moving, just watching. And that's when she broke. I watched her jaw clench, her hand twitch toward her clutch, and Micah start asking questions she clearly didn't want to answer. Her world began to fracture, inch by inch, with every new person who opened that folder. And I just stood there, the man no one invited. But suddenly, the one no one could ignore. I barely had time to take a sip of the warm beer I'd grabbed from the cooler before she came storming toward me like a high-speed train with broken brakes. Her heels clacked against the floor in sharp, rapid-fire bursts. Micah trailed behind her, already half lost in the storm cloud she was becoming. The crowd parted instinctively, like they all knew this wasn't going to be subtle. She didn't say a word. She just grabbed my wrist, hard, and yanked me away from the open floor, through a side door, and into one of those narrow utility hallways used by waitstaff and caterers. It smelled like lemon cleaner and overworked air conditioning. The hum of the party dulled behind the heavy door. She spun to face me, breathing hard, cheeks flushed red, but not from embarrassment. From rage. What the hell did you do, Benny? I didn't flinch. Just told the truth. Isn't that what you always said I was too scared to do? You ruined everything. Her voice echoed off the concrete walls. Do you have any idea what people are saying out there? My boss saw that photo. The chat screenshots. I raised an eyebrow. And which part are you mad about? That they saw it, or that it's real? She looked like she wanted to slap me. For a second, I thought she might. But instead, she pressed her hands to her temples and paced in a tight, angry circle like a cornered animal trying to decide whether to fight or flee. You blindsided me, she hissed. You think this makes you look strong? You look pathetic. You always needed people to feel sorry for you. That one stung. Not because it wasn't something I'd heard before, but because this time, I could tell she believed it. That I was just some fragile, broken puppy dragging myself behind her, hoping for scraps. But she didn't realize something had changed. I wasn't there for her forgiveness. I wasn't there to get her back. I was there because she expected me to vanish quietly, like a stain on her clean narrative. And instead, I walked right into her party and painted the truth on the walls. You think you can play victim now? I asked calmly. You lied for 2 months. You slept beside me while texting him under the covers. I recorded you laughing about it in your voice memo app. You left the file open. Your phone synced to the iPad, remember? Her eyes widened slightly, just enough for me to know that hit home. Yeah, I nodded. I heard the whole thing. Every word you said about me. About how I'm boring. Predictable. Safe. How Mike is spontaneous and makes you feel alive. She stepped back as if I'd slapped her. And then she tried to regain control. This doesn't have to end like this, she said, suddenly softer, a tremble in her voice. We can leave. You can delete the files. Just, we can still talk, okay? Fix it. Please. For the first time in months, she was the one pleading. And for the first time ever, I wasn't listening. The hallway felt like it was shrinking around us. That harsh, flickering fluorescent light buzzed above as she stared at me with this unreadable cocktail of panic, calculation, and, somehow, hope. Like she still thought she could control the narrative if she just picked the right mask to wear. Her voice dropped to a whisper, trembling just enough to sound authentic. But I could tell she was choosing every word like she was playing chess on a minefield. Benny, you sent private things. To my job. To people who weren't supposed to see them. That's harassment. I could report it. I could say you've been unstable for a long time. You stopped therapy, remember? You quit your job. You isolate. I could say I felt unsafe. That last word, unsafe. She said it like a trap being set. And for a moment, I felt it work. I felt the spike of fear run through my chest, the familiar gut punch of being the one accused when all I did was break. That word, from a woman, against a man like me, a man who's cried in public and once begged her not to walk out, has weight. I knew it. She knew it. I took a step back, like I needed space to breathe, but inside, my mind was racing at 1,000 miles per hour. I had predicted she might retaliate, but this? Weaponizing my breakdown. My lowest point. I looked her dead in the eye. So that's your move now? You'll lie to HR? To the cops? She didn't answer, but her silence said everything. I pulled out my phone. Her eyes widened. No, I'm not recording. I said before she could even protest. I don't need to. Then I pulled up a file. Not from the folder I'd sent to her office. This one was different. One I hadn't told anyone about. One I'd saved for just this kind of moment. It was a voice memo. A quiet one. Background noise, low music, the soft clinking of wine glasses, and then her voice. Clearly hers. Drunk, laughing, bragging to a friend at a dinner I wasn't invited to. Benny's so obsessed with me he'd believe anything I say. I could cry in front of his friends and tell them he yells at me, and they'd take my side. Easy. The laughter that followed made my stomach turn the first time I heard it. Now, it was just armor. Her face went pale. You think I didn't notice the manipulation? I said, finally letting my voice rise. You planted the idea of me being off months ago. You stopped inviting me to things. Started telling people I was going through something. Also, when this blew up, you'd have the sympathy baked in. She looked like she might actually cry now. But I didn't care. Not anymore. You don't get to flip the script this time, Sienna. A door opened at the far end of the hallway, and someone from the catering crew peeked in, then quickly stepped away. Good. Let them talk. Let them wonder. Let them know something cracked open tonight. She stepped toward me, slower now, smaller somehow. Can we please? Let's just go home and talk like people. No more games. I tilted my head. You sure Micah doesn't mind you leaving early? Her lip trembled. I turned and left the hallway before she could say another word. And as I walked back toward the party, my heart pounded, but not from fear. From clarity. I had spent so long trying to keep her from breaking me. But now I realized. She was the one falling apart. The rooftop was louder now. Not in volume, but in energy. A low hum of tension had rippled through the space like electricity skimming just under the surface of the tile. Conversations had shifted. People weren't laughing as much. Phones were out. Faces were lit with screen glow. I saw the ripple spreading from one corner of the crowd to the next. And then there was Micah, standing near the bar, holding a drink he clearly hadn't touched. He was scanning the crowd like a man looking for a dropped grenade. His posture was rigid now. The kind of tension you only see when someone realizes they're part of a story they weren't prepared to read. He hadn't seen me yet. So I walked up. Micah, I said, my tone calm, too calm. He turned, and his eyebrows lifted slightly. Benny, right? He said, trying to piece together why the guy his girlfriend technically hadn't broken up with was suddenly standing 3 feet away from him at a private party. Yeah, I nodded. You and I should talk. He glanced over my shoulder, clearly looking for Sienna. She wasn't there. I made sure of that. Look, man, I don't think this is a good time. Funny, I cut in. I thought 2 months ago wasn't a good time either. But that didn't stop you. He opened his mouth, then closed it again. I could see the storm in his eyes. Confusion, guilt, denial. The holy trinity of people who think they're still in control of something already on fire. I took out my phone and held it up, showing him the same screenshot I had sent in the envelope. The one with the timestamp, the GPS coordinates, and their hotel listed right there in bright, damning text. You remember this place? I asked. Room 604. February 3rd. She told me she was at a networking mixer. Said it was all women only. But you know that's not true, right? He stared at the screen, then at me. His jaw tightened. He was trying to decide whether to deny it, laugh it off, or throw a punch. He did none of those things. I didn't know she was still with you, he finally said, barely audible over the music. She told me you two were done, that you were just roommates at that point. I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because it was so absurdly on brand. We weren't roommates, man. I was still making her coffee every morning. I was still folding her laundry. I was still planning our 5-year anniversary trip while she was deleting texts from you. His face dropped. She's good at lying, I said. I should know. I believed every word for 2 years longer than I should have. He rubbed the back of his neck. People were starting to look over now, trying not to look obvious. We weren't shouting, but the tension between us drew eyes. Like we were the prelude to a scene everyone hoped would explode. I'm sorry, Micah muttered, eyes on the floor. I didn't mean. You didn't ask, I interrupted. That's the problem. You didn't want to know. You just wanted to believe the version of her she gave you. And I can't blame you. I wanted to believe in her too. Then I leaned in a little closer. But you should also know, she was planning to drop you next. She told her friend you were a side phase. Said she needed someone with more ambition. His mouth twitched. I saw it hit him. I wasn't just blowing up her life. I was dropping a match into his too. Then, behind him, I saw Sienna step back onto the rooftop. Her eyes locked on us instantly. She froze. Just for a second. Then she started moving toward us, quickening her pace like she knew something was slipping through her fingers. Don't let her spin it, I said quietly to Micah. She's already rehearsed 10 versions of this story where she's the victim. You just need to decide if you're going to be her next draft. He didn't respond, but he didn't walk away either. And when she reached us, the look on her face said everything. Rage, panic, desperation. Micah turned to her. We need to talk. And that was my cue to leave. Not because I was running, but because I had already won. I left the rooftop slowly, not because I wanted to make a scene, but because I didn't need to rush anymore. My part was done. The detonator had been pressed. The shockwave was already rolling through every conversation, every group chat, every corner of that glassy, overpriced rooftop venue. She had spent so long building an image of perfection, of charm and composure and curated vulnerability. And now, that image was cracked wide open. I passed a small group near the elevator. 2 women and a guy, maybe co-workers, maybe friends of Micah. They weren't whispering anymore. One of them was scrolling through her phone, while the others huddled close. Wait, that's him? That's Benny? One asked, loud enough that I caught it. That's what Chelsea said. He sent a whole folder, with timestamps and everything. You didn't see it yet? They looked up at me as I walked by. No malice, just curiosity. That's what betrayal becomes once it's exposed. Entertainment. A cautionary tale. A trending topic. I could already imagine the DMs, the Slack messages, the "oh my god, did you hear?" conversations erupting in bathrooms and on smoke breaks. But I didn't care about any of that. What I cared about was the silence that would follow her for weeks after this. The sideways glances. The way no one would fully trust her version of anything ever again. She didn't lose just a boyfriend that night. She lost her control. And for someone like Sienna, that was worse than heartbreak. It was humiliation. When I got to the lobby, my phone buzzed again. I almost ignored it. But the preview made me stop walking. It was a voice message. From her. I shouldn't have listened. I know that. But I did. Because I still had that weakness inside me. The one that wanted closure, even when I knew it wouldn't come. Her voice was trembling. Not angry this time. Just raw. You think you're the hero now? You think this makes you strong? You embarrassed me. You ruined me. And you know what's the worst part? I still would have come home to you. I would have. But you made sure that door is closed forever. So congratulations. You got what you wanted. I stood there, listening to it twice. Not because I missed her, but because that final sentence told me everything I needed to hear. She didn't think I had this in me. And that was her biggest mistake. I didn't reply. I archived the message and slid the phone into my pocket. As I pushed open the glass doors and stepped into the night, the cold air hit me like a reset button. For the first time in months, maybe years, my chest didn't feel heavy. My throat didn't feel tight. My spine wasn't curled in on itself like it had something to apologize for. No, I walked 3 blocks to my car. Windows frosted, windshield dirty, engine slow to start. But it didn't matter. Because I wasn't Benny the pushover anymore. I wasn't the safe bet. I wasn't the man who waited around to be chosen. I had chosen myself. And I had one final move left to make. 2 weeks passed. Long enough for the fire to burn through everything she tried to protect, but not long enough for her to rebuild. I didn't follow the gossip. I didn't need to. People sent me things unsolicited. Screenshots of her stories with passive-aggressive quotes about being betrayed by the ones you trust. Awkward comments under her posts that she kept deleting, and whispers that Micah had transferred to another branch entirely. She was unraveling, and she was doing it publicly. Every post was polished, sure, but there was a crack behind her smile now. The charm she once weaponized so effortlessly had dulled. I guess it's hard to shine when people have seen what's beneath the surface. But this isn't about her anymore. This is about what happened after. Because somewhere in that quiet wreckage, I found something I wasn't expecting: peace. I stopped checking her socials. I blocked her number. I stopped replaying voice messages and rereading conversations like they were crime scenes. I finally accepted what I should have known a long time ago. Loving someone who sees you as disposable is just a slow form of self-destruction. I started therapy again, on my terms this time. No more pretending to be okay just to keep her comfortable. No more downplaying how much it hurt. My therapist asked me once, "What are you most afraid of now that she's gone?" And for the first time, I had nothing to say. Not because I didn't know, but because I wasn't afraid anymore. I went back to writing. Real writing. Not the half-finished drafts I kept hiding in Google Docs, but full, raw pages. I started hiking again too, alone at first. Then with a group. Then with someone. Her name's Talia. I met her during a trail cleanup event I almost skipped. She has this quiet kind of strength, the kind that doesn't demand attention but holds it anyway. She doesn't know everything about what happened, and I don't need her to. Because she didn't fall for a version of me that was edited to please someone else. She saw me as I was, and stayed. Last weekend, we made dinner together. Nothing fancy, just grilled vegetables and pasta. She caught me staring at her during a quiet moment and asked, "What?" And I said, "Nothing. I'm just not used to this." To what? To someone being here, without a catch. She didn't try to fix that silence. She just smiled and passed me the salt. So yeah, she tried to break me that night. With a knife in one hand and a lie in the other. But all she did was set me free.